Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited to do this timeless reading for you guys today. I felt called to do a reading about the messages you may need to hear at this time, especially considering when I'm shooting this right now. It is just after Lughnasadh, which is the harvest festival for the Celtic calendar. That passed on August 1st, and it is the harvest time, right? We are now entering into the waning part of the year for us now at this time. But of course, I felt called to do this reading because alongside the themes of the harvest is the theme of what we may need to hear in order to cultivate and prepare and to grow further and to do all this wonderful stuff. So, decided to do the timeless reading. It's going to be fun. I'm going to insert a picture with the three groups that I have in front of me here so that you can choose shortly. So, we have group number 1 here on the left with gorse. Gorse is a beautiful plant that I have only seen in Ireland personally, and it flowers this beautiful yellow. So if you feel drawn to that, please feel free to pick group 1. If you are called to the second one, which is in the middle here, this is birch. So group 2, birch is a really powerful tree. It feels very, it's like a nice white tree on the outside, and its bark is white. It's very pretty. So if you feel drawn to that one, that'll be group 2. And group 3 is all the way on the right here with the fir. And I'm sure many of you know the fir. That is all Christmas time and like fun December stuff. That's the smell that you usually get most of the time. Our Christmas trees are balsam firs or silver needle firs or different types of fir trees. So if you feel called to group 3, that'll be that one. And so, please feel free to check them out. I'm going to link the timestamps below, and then we'll get started on group 1. I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright, group number 1, thank you for choosing this one. So you guys chose the gorse, like I said. So this is actually the Celtic Ogham, which is a linguistic system that they also use, an alphabet that they used in the ancient past. And it functions similarly to the runes, in that each of these symbols carries specific social and cultural significance to them. So you guys picked the gorse, and I have a beautiful little info card here that I found on my travels. It's really beautiful, so I'm going to read it out for you guys first, and then we'll get into the cards. So, yours is gorse. We have the info here on the back. So it says here, gorse is a symbol of stability, joy, and freedom. Their ever-blossomed yellow flowers are a symbol of the sun, particularly with Beltane and the start of the summer. The sun in your life is rising again, with a new dawn and a new summer for the spirit. Now is the time to run, dance, and be merry in whatever you can. Gorse was used as bedding and fodder for horses. So if horses are a symbol for you, this is a good one. A horse represents freedom, unrestrained wildness and majesty, but many horses are bridled and ridden into places they would not go themselves. So here we are reminded our fundamental freedoms as earthly beings to do as we please, and the ways in which our environments can convince us that we are trapped. Gorse word was also used to craft sturdy walking sticks. Be not the elder who refuses a cane at the expense of their health and safety. Remember to reach out for help when the burden becomes too much. Find places in your life that feel unstable, and consider the ways you might work towards stability. So, I think that's really beautiful because just to start out your reading, there is this feeling of immense growth, prosperity, happiness. You are walking into a new time of great joy, which we love, right? We love that. And I enjoyed the imagery that the horse being bridled sometimes, right? And how the horse oftentimes will be forced to walk into places that it may not want to walk. Now, the horse can at any time throw off the rider. The horse is never as confined as it may seem. And so with that sense, it feels to me that there's a lot of energy around understanding your boundaries, understanding your sense of agency, coming into deeper awareness of how powerful you truly are and how much you have available to you. I think you guys underestimate yourselves often, Group 1. And I think it's time to no longer underestimate yourself. It's time to put yourself on the pedestal that a lot of people tend to see for you. I feel like a lot of people look at you and they say, you know what, this person's really cool, or this person, you know, has a lot of potential, or like oftentimes people talk well or speak well of you, but you sometimes don't believe it yourself. It's time that you start believing it. It's time that you start recognizing just how powerful, how beautiful, and how much potential you actually have in this life. So we're starting off with the Tower of the Divine by Yoshitani. It's really pretty. So if you ever want them or want to purchase it, please feel free to look it up. I'm sure like places around the world sell it. Amazon for sure, although, you know, I have my thoughts around Amazon. So do the spirits. So we'll see what comes up for you guys, group number 1. Because it does feel like there's a lot of new opportunity, or perhaps there's a lot of what I'm feeling is old dreams and desires and like things that you kind of put away. I feel like you decided to work, or you decided to take care of the very real things that we have to take care of in life, right? Like the house, the home, the apartment, the rent, you know, taking care of buying food and things like that. Like, but it feels to me that you've found a certain level of stability at this point, and now you're being asked to take that risk. So let's see what comes up for you guys. Now, why I really like this tarot deck while I'm pulling the cards, it tells the story of the gods, divine energies across the planet, which is pretty cool. Ooh, I feel to take one more. Yeah. A lot of creative energy, a lot of movement and desire. It's almost like it's so the phrase that's coming to mind for those of you who are into pop culture or things like that is how Stella got her groove back. So it feels to me like the ways in which you're being asked to get your groove back, so to speak. Yeah, okay. Okay, put this on the side here. And then we shall read these two quickly. No? We're just gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going, friends. So, what I feel, I can talk about it while we go. So, we have the Page of Wands here first, and we also have the Page of Coins. So I'll talk about that in a second, because I'm already feeling that it kind of coincides with what was coming up when you guys chose Gorse. Some of you have ideas, or have had ideas for business stuff, or, you know, ideas for moving, going someplace. It feels like some of you have been wanting to travel for a while, or have desire to see new things or experience new things, and you've been feeling kind of stuck, or have been feeling as if you're not moving as much as you could, you know? There's a certain level of stagnation that has been plaguing you, is what I hear. Plagued with stagnation, which is a very specific word choice in my opinion. Let's see. We got a lot of cards for you today, so I'm excited. Not yet. I feel like they always like all of the cards to come off first, and then we do the reading. But oh, cool. Alright. Yes. Should I get that into a second? I have a whole bunch of stuff over here. One more? No, we'll get to that in a second. So, we'll go back to the Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands here is what opened your reading. The Page of Wands, for me, represents creative potential, creative desire. It represents this, that's why I said earlier that some of you may have had a business opportunity or business ideas or creative ideas, or some of you may be writers, and you have like story ideas that you always wanted to talk about, or TikTok ideas you always wanted to do, or little things, little aspects of your creative life that you may have put aside for the sake of maintaining the everyday, right? And it's time to put more emphasis into that, because this great change is coming. If I'm not mistaken, this is Oya, who is the goddess, the Yoruba goddess of the wind, which is really beautiful. The wind, change, transformation. So this message that you hear is like, get going, do it. Do the things you've always wanted to do. Try the change you've always wanted to try. Go travel, book that flight, do the thing that you feel called to do. We also have the Page of Coins here, which is really beautiful, because the Page of Coins in relationship with the Page of Wands represents also a business venture that may be quite successful, right? Or perhaps you may have thought to go back to school, or go back to university, or to return to a space in which you're learning again, right? Because I feel like it feels tired. You've been feeling tired, feeling physically exhausted, a little bit gray washed. Like the world is a little bit gray, right? And this is asking for you to get prepared for life to shake up a bit. Well, a lot. For life to get shaken up a lot, which is going to be cool. So we have purity here, and what I take from this card, from the Sacred Destiny Oracle, which I like to look at as like the landscape of one's heart. So purity is asking to find spaces where you can listen more closely to your inner heart. I feel like some of you may have had difficulty connecting to your intuition and connecting more deeply into what your body's telling you. Your body is constantly giving you information about what feels good and what doesn't. And oftentimes we've been socialized to not look at pleasure, or to not be aware of pleasure, or to be aware more of what is painful rather than what gives us joy. So this is really asking you to take time to cleanse yourself, to kind of like wipe the slate clean, so to speak, so that you can become more aware of where the emotions are coming from, what is bringing you joy, and what makes you feel alive again, even if it's like a small little thing, right? Like if it's, for example, if it's going out to eat and eating at your favorite restaurant, or going to work out, or taking time during your day to meditate, whatever it is that brings you that joy, this purity is asking to cleanse the body, to slow down, and to listen more closely to that intuitive connection, or that intuitive voice that you have within you, so that it can give you more clear guidance as to where to go with your life. We also have embracing, which I love to see, because embracing to me represents, or at least in this deck, it's this beautiful egret, or egret if I'm saying it correctly, this beautiful egret that's hanging out in a swamp, right? So those of you who may those of you who are watching here in group 1 may have had physical difficulties, perhaps surgeries, or perhaps like physical aches and pains and things like that. And this embracing is telling you to slow down. The egret takes its time to walk through the swamp. It takes its time and moves slowly through the emotional water, so as not to stir the pot, right? So as not to stir the water, to scare away the fish. And then it strikes precisely while the iron is hot. This card to me represents that. This feeling of waiting, taking time to wade through your emotional waters, so that you do not disturb any of the fish that you need to see within you. To clear it up from the metaphor, take your time with your emotional life. Take your time with your heart. Your heart is speaking. It wants to give you the message. It wants to share with you the dreams that you've had and perhaps have shelved in the past, and is imploring you to take the opportunity to find them and work with them again. Because we have here the heart of the matter from the Sufi Oracle deck. And it says here, align life's pathways through the heart. So this is a lot about alignment, connecting again to that inner voice within your heart. Group 1, this feels very much like that moment when all your team comes through and they're like, you don't have to give up your dream. You don't have to forget the kind of life that you want to live for yourself. You don't have to put aside your joy, your happiness, your pleasure. You deserve it. In fact, we all do, right? And the more you live into that pleasure, the more you lean into that happiness, the more that others can have the opportunity to do the same, because we lead by example. So, a very powerful message for you guys with Group 1. I hope that that resonates with you guys. I also have, very quickly, we have the 9 of Wands that came up at the bottom of the deck, which is all about protecting your boundaries, in my opinion. Then you have Thriving here, which is asking you to really tap into that sense of thriving rather than just surviving. And then we also have Life's Purpose, seek your own deeper vision for your life. So, I hope that resonates with you guys. If you like the video, like and subscribe below. And I'll be getting started on group number 2. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye everyone. Hey group 2, welcome. I'm really excited to see what is said here through the cards and everything, the messages that you may need to hear at this time. Now, of course, you guys picked group 2, like I said. So we have the birch here, which looks like this in the Celtic Ogham. So the Celtic Ogham is also a very ancient style of alphabet. And it was used very similarly in terms of divination and magical practices like the runes, but it's just the Celtic version. So you guys picked birch, which is a beautiful tree like I mentioned earlier. It has beautiful white bark, and I've seen them before, and I think in some books that I've read before, the birch was used as one of the sacred trees alongside oak as the grove master or something like that, which is pretty cool. So this is the birch card, and we have the information on the back, so I'm going to read that for you guys now, and then we'll get into the cards and see what they have to say. So you guys picked birch. Birch is a symbol of inner truth, vulnerability, and exploring the shadow. Within us all exists a deep unconscious world. The birch indicates a need for vulnerability, to bring awareness to those things we may have buried there. You are guided by your higher self every moment. You will make it through the dark emotional journey. Birch trees are beacons of light in the dark forest because of the nearly iridescent white bark that reflects the light of the moon. If one finds themselves lost in a dark wood, finding a patch of birch trees is a blessing. This is the primary quality of birch, a tree which embodies the protective, guiding light of the mother. Birch contains oil so potent that its twigs, no matter wet or dry, can be used to start fires. It is a reliable tree, quick growing and vibrant, and it has much to teach us in this regard. Pick a bundle of birch leaves sometimes before the summer solstice and chew on them, or brew a tea with them. This can calm the body, soothe mouth sores, and ease sore muscles. Pretty cool. So, those of you who are watching group 2 may also have had some physical aches and pains that may be beneficial for you guys to take some time to rest, to get a massage, to get some body work done. I was also really drawn to that message about the mother and connecting to mothering. Perhaps it is time to mother yourselves more clearly and more compassionately, because I feel like some of you in group 2 may oftentimes have an inner critic or a voice of doubt that is quite strong, and oftentimes is badgering you or berating you or telling you that you're not good enough, or that why try this, there are other people better suited. There's this feeling of this deep inner critic, and I think that it's time to dive deep into your inner life and find out what that inner critic is doing and why it's there, because oftentimes, in my opinion, the inner critic is oftentimes just the inner child that has been taught to be a parent and needed to parent itself much faster than was necessary, right? So I oftentimes see that people with inner critics or powerful inner critics tend to have had a childhood where they really needed to grow up fast. and they didn't really have the support that they needed, which is why mothering is really important, and being vulnerable with yourself at this time may be extremely important for you, because that vulnerability is going to open you up to a deeper and more fulfilling avenue of creative potential. And again, this creativity does not have to be just through the arts or just through poetry or literature or things like that, though I feel that some of you may be connected to that. Art is the process of life. Life is art. So to live life more creatively is to live life more fully, at least in my opinion. So diving into this dark emotional journey, which I feel like some of you some of you who are watching this, because again, this is a timeless reading, so take what resonates. But I feel like some of you up until this point, maybe in the past week, since you've reached this reading, right, there has been a very heavy and weighted feeling, right? It feels like sadness, but not quite, because you're able to smile. You're able to go about your day doing your thing. But it feels like the inner life is a little bit numb, if that makes sense. So I hope that you find that patch of birch within the emotional landscape of your soul that will shine brightly in that night. So group 1 got to see me unboxing all of the cards, but you guys will get to go straight to it. So we're first starting off with the deck called the Divine Tarot, which I really love. It's by Yoshi Yoshitani, and it's a beautiful deck because it brings together stories of the gods from various cultures, which I really like. And also the art is beautiful too. So we'll see what these cards have to say for you, and then we'll get into the rest shortly. Okay. Let's see what messages group 2 has to hear at this time. Upright. I felt to do upright. I'm not really feeling reversals today. Let's see. Okay. We are good. Let's see what happens. Okay. So, it feels like the cards are already corroborating with what I said earlier. Some of you may have a very powerful inner critic, like I mentioned, and it feels like oftentimes the mind is running through anxieties and worries and, what's coming next and how am I going to go here, and there's a lot of worry. And it's okay. It's okay to worry. It's okay to feel a little bit ungrounded, right? But I feel like you're being called to find deeper practices of self-awareness, of awareness of your body, of your heart, of your mind, that'll bring you to a space where you feel more connected to yourself. And what does that mean? It means very different things for everybody. But I can give you an example. Sometimes feeling grounded is as simple as taking a glass of water and drinking it fully, because oftentimes we're more dehydrated than we imagine. Or being grounded can be just going out for a walk without your cell phone, right? To give yourself an opportunity to hear and to be present in this life. Sometimes we get caught up so much in the past or in the future that we forget that those things are just aspects of the present, right? So I really feel that deeply for you guys here in group 2. Now let's see what the emotional landscape has to do. Thank you. I literally heard they were like, one more. I was like, cool, we'll do one more. And then this guy, we usually get one. So this is the Sufi Oracle deck, which is one of my favorites too. I do like it. It's very pretty too. Very nice artwork. What messages does group 2 have to... Okay. We'll take 2 for you guys, because that seems to be what they're asking here. Okay. So let's get into it. So we start off your reading with the 4 of Wands, right? So the 4 of Wands is, in the traditional tarot, a really beautiful card to see, because it represents celebration, happiness, joy, and here we also see a very beautiful scene of celebration, a wedding celebration. So it feels to me that there's a lot of internal energy that is geared towards celebrating your life, or you will be celebrating things shortly. Some of you may actually be going to a wedding or have just had a wedding and perhaps are having post-nuptial depression. Because sometimes it's like, wow, I'm actually here, right? The things are actually happening. But I feel for some of you, it's more like you're waiting for this celebration, you're waiting for this relationship, you're waiting for this connection, you're waiting for this job, all these kinds of stuff. And I sometimes feel like it's not coming. But I see here the Page of Cups, which is a beautiful card to see. Because to me, the Page of Cups, as you can see here, we have the little red string of fate, which I like to see. And I forgot the story behind this one, but I always loved the image, very beautiful. And it feels to me that, what is it you guys need to hear? Let's see. It feels to me like there's a call to be more compassionate with yourself. You do have a lot to celebrate in your life, and you have a lot to celebrate about yourself, right? I feel like you don't celebrate yourself enough. You're often stuck in this Nine of Swords energy, which is again that feeling of anxiety, of self-doubt, of constantly thinking and going back and forth. And it feels to me like you gotta it feels like you're being invited to look at yourself with new eyes, to look at yourself and your body, your mind, your heart, the way that you live in life, to look at yourself and say, wow, like I am beautiful, I am powerful, I am sexy, I am sweet, I am kind, right? I feel like it's time to change the language that you speak to yourself, right? It feels like it's time to speak more gently to yourself, to know that you deserve the goodness of this world, that you deserve the good things that are coming to you. And I see two things here. We have gateway and we have enlightenment. So what I like about these two cards, or what these two cards represent for me in this context, is you are being asked to believe in miracles, to walk through the gateway of your inner heart and find the enlightenment that's waiting for you there, right? So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 2 weeks that you will be getting messages, or you'll be getting, what I'm seeing is like people coming into your life who will tell you about how good you are, or will come in and remind you, like old friends or old acquaintances or whatever it is. But people just coming in and saying like, hey, you're really cool, or like, hey, you know, we're here to support you, or whatever it is. It feels very much like there's a push from the energies around you to feel more supported, to allow yourself to feel more grounded in your happiness, to feel more grounded in that joy that's waiting for you. Because we have fine wine. Longing is the portal to wholeness. We also have the energy of love. Behold the world through eyes of love. And again, this is what was coming up earlier when I was looking at these three tarot cards. It's this feeling of you are the world, okay? You are the world, and your world connects to all the many worlds around us, right? And if your world is suffering, or if your world is going through a drought, or going through a period in which there is not much joy to be had, that affects the worlds around you. That affects so much more. And your happiness is imperative for this world, and for the many worlds around you, and the many worlds that are connected to you. So it really does feel like taking time to look at yourself through the eyes of love, to long for yourself, to long for the desire that you have for your own body, your own mind, your own soul. When was the last time you looked at yourself and said, wow, I'm beautiful, or wow, I'm powerful, or wow, I'm sexy, right? It feels like that. So I hope you guys take that opportunity to enter conversation with that inner critic, with that inner child, and begin to reimagine what it's like to mother yourself and to be nurturing and caring to yourself, right? Because we have the Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck, so some decisions that need to be made. We have forgiveness here, which I feel like is asking for forgiveness of yourself, looking at your past self and knowing that you did the best you could with the information you were given, and returning to joy through that forgiveness. So I hope that resonated with you guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. That's what I have for group 2 today. I'm gonna get started on group 3. Like and subscribe below. I really appreciate you guys joining and having some fun with me. I hope this message resonates, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye everyone. Hey group 3, welcome. I'm really excited to see what the cards have to say for this message that you need to hear at this time. So you guys picked group 3, which was the fir tree, which looks like this in the Celtic Ogham. Now the Celtic Ogham is very similar to the Norse runes. They are an alphabet, an ancient alphabet that was used for divinatory practices, and each of the letters carries specific social and cultural symbolism that's associated with it. So we have here the fir tree, and I have the little card pamphlet here, info card, and I'm going to read the information for you guys now so that we can open that reading with this, and then we'll get into the cards shortly. So you guys chose the fir tree. Silver fir is the specific fir tree used in the old Ogham, but any tall local fir variety works for this as well. Fir is a symbol of perspective and the far-reaching visionary skill of a wandering mystic. Fir trees stand taller than the canopy and than most in the forest, and can see above the canopy into the distant horizon. Unlike deciduous trees, they have a sharp point at the top pointing right towards the sun, the divine creative force embodied. Fir reminds us to look upwards and outwards, to enlarge and enrich our perspective on earthly reality. Perhaps it's time to consider what larger, overarching picture for your life. Are you busying yourself with things that distract you from your purpose and truest ideals? Evergreen trees of any variety are, of course, associated with immortality. They live through more years than a human could ever fathom, all while displaying their unwavering greenery. While deciduous trees remind us of the never-ending cycles of death and rebirth, the evergreens tell us of our ongoing immortal spirit. Your higher spiritual self is there, ever green and ever radiant. Silver fir buds can be boiled into a tea for bronchitis and respiratory troubles. And it's also, I actually really like cedars and other evergreens, especially for like flu or cold-like symptoms. It makes a great tea for that. Just wanted to throw that in there. So what I feel for the fir tree and for you guys in group 3, this seems to be a desire or an invitation to shift your perspective about your life. Perhaps you've been doom scrolling, or you've been on TikTok or Instagram, just scrolling away, doing your thing, or have been very much busy with the going-ons of life, going on and on about the quotidian nature of things, which is totally fine. I mean, we all get caught up in it, and we kind of need to. This is what life is about sometimes, just doing the day-to-day. But it feels like you're being called to take a step back and look at the greater picture of your life, to look at the tapestry of your soul, and see the threads therein, and then follow that thread to become more aware of where you're going, what you want, and where you're headed. So I wanted to finish that thought because not the computer, but the camera overheated. So I think that's quite a message for you guys in group 3, because it feels like some of you may be burning out, or maybe in a space where you feel overwhelmed or overworked, or perhaps doing a little bit too much, right? So an overheated camera is quite symbolic to me. And so I had already gone through your reading. I kept going because the camera sadly didn't let me know that it had overheated. I only found out at the end of the reading. So I'm going to go back through it, discuss it with you guys, give you guys an overall theme of what I was getting at, and we'll see if the messages come back as they need to. So as I had mentioned as I was doing the reading before, right? you guys are being asked to shift your perspective, or a change in perspective is coming very quickly for you guys. So I started out with this deck here. This deck is called the Divine Tarot by Yoshi Yoshitani. I love the artwork. It is very beautiful. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. So you started out with the Knight of Swords, right? So when the Knight of Swords flew out, I was very much feeling this energy of this quick change, right? The Knight of Swords is associated with the sword suit, of course, or the suit of swords, and is associated with the mental capacities, our mind, right? So that Knight of Swords coming out is like quick change, quick transition, a quick shift in perspective. So for those of you guys who are watching this video at this time, I wouldn't be surprised if you're going through a period of shifting your perspective on things. I remember mentioning earlier in the reading, as I did it before the camera overheated, I was talking about some of you may be in university, or some of you may be studying right now, or in college, or whatever it may be. And as you're in the process of studying, there's this feeling of looking or feeling more passionate about another subject or something different than what you're studying at this time. And there's this encouragement from the energies around you to say like, hey, look, allow for that change of perspective, allow for that shift, look at the thing that brings you passion, because that passion may be a lucrative way or a reinvigorating manner in which you can bring more life into the thing that you're studying, or you may decide to actually study the thing that you're feeling drawn to, right? So as an example, some of us may be told to have been lawyers or doctors, or have been told to do something else, right? But you may have wanted to be a history teacher, as an example. Pursue that. See what that brings you to, right? Because being a history teacher, or at least taking a few history classes, may enrich your life or enrich the passion within you, so that when you go study or continue to study law or continue to do whatever it is that you're doing, you may be able to find ways to either merge the two or decide that your passion is where you need to go, right? So this Knight of Swords is really inviting a quick shift of perspective, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's coming within the next week or two for you guys, whenever you watch this video, right? And then we also have the King of Swords. So this shift in perspective is opening yourself up to a deeper awareness of your agency, of your capacity to choose, of your ability to make these decisions clearly, efficiently, and effectively. Because what it feels to me whenever I see the King of Swords is that the King of Swords represents someone who does have that capacity to maintain their boundaries, to be aware of what they want, why they want it, the kind of energy that says, do I really need this here right now? Is this the kind of relationship that I need? Is this the job that I need? No? Cut. Do I need this? No. Cut. Right? It's this very strong energy. And I feel like this shift of perspective, once you get this, I mentioned before, it was this hindsight in the present moment, which is pretty cool. So having that present moment hindsight, almost like taking a step back and looking at your life through heaven's eyes, which came up again. For those of you who like that song, Through Heaven's Eyes from the Prince of Egypt is the vibe. I think you guys would enjoy that. For those of you who don't know it, it is a really beautiful song. But it talks about looking at your life from that higher perspective. Seeing the decisions you're making, the people who are involved in your life, the things that you're doing right now, the job that you may have, right? And really assessing its value to you, right? Because values change. Values are not static, right? Values are always shifting, and some values are more stable than others, which is why we have like internal value system and moral codes and ethics and things. But of course, you know, values are constantly shifting. And so it's time to take that moment to step back, tap into this King of Swords energy, and decide, hey, look, do I really need this? Is this really necessary for me? How can I shift my relationship to this job, or my relationship to my studies, or whatever it is, to bring about a better change in my life, right? I also feel for the King of Swords, this message came up earlier, some of you may have relationships or friendships or people that you kind of hang around that are just there to hang around. And that's fine. That's fine. Because sometimes we need that. Sometimes it's nice to just have people that you can just chill with, right? But it feels to me having a greater level of discernment as to how these relationships affect you in the long run, right? You know, for example, if you surround yourself with people who are pessimists, right? It's not to say that pessimistic people won't, you know, aren't able to achieve amazing things in life, but it is to say that a certain level of pessimism can sometimes wear people down, right? It even wears the pessimist down. Like, I know for myself, I have oftentimes had thoughts where like the self-doubt will come in and things like that, and you feel a little weighed down by it, and it feels like sad. And when you hang out with, you know, with people, or if I go to places where that energy is encouraged, it's about having the discernment. Am I going there to really dive deeper into my emotional body and to heal it, or am I going there just to stay in it because I know that it's comfortable for me, right? Those are two very different experiences. So I hope that resonates, and I hope that makes sense. It's not to ever put anyone down or anything like that, because I know we all have our things that we go through, and we all have different emotional valences that we're working through. But for you guys in group 3, you're being asked to embrace the things that make you happy, to tap more deeply into that happiness, into that joy, and the things that don't quite align with that happiness, it's time to figure out how to rework your relationship with that thing. So for example, if it's a job, perhaps finding a way to make the job more fun, or talking to the boss to get a raise, or to, you know, to find a way in which, you know, you can reorganize your desk or your workspace so that it feels more inviting, or it feels more enjoyable to be there, right? Whatever it is, you're using this discernment, this change of perspective that has come for you, that has entered into your life to really change the way you're living, right? And it's time to take risks. I love seeing this card. The take risks card feels to me like some of you have been wanting to go bungee jumping, or have wanted to go to a break room where you break things, like I'm seeing cliff diving as well. I'm seeing someone going on, what are those, the hot air balloons. Like, there's this feeling of travel or trying something new, and you're being invited through this change of perspective that has been the major theme in your reading to really take those leaps, right? Because those leaps are going to be helpful for you. They're going to, like I mentioned before, reignite your passion for life. Because like I said, sometimes we get caught up in the day-to-day motions of life, and sometimes things start to feel very gray washed or a little washed out, right? So it's time to bring color back into life. And it says here, concealed power, give birth to the wonder of revelation. So I think as you start to take these risks, and as you start to use this shift and this change in your purview to really shake things up, right? It's going to showcase to you the power of your agency, the power of your ability to choose, right? Because we have here at the bottom of the deck, the Devil card. Now, I don't ever see this as a really bad card. I usually see the Devil as like elements of our lives that we feel caught up in. Again, like oftentimes we can be caught up in, for example, doom scrolling, or like looking at TikTok, or finding methods of false grounding techniques, which are ways in which we try to connect to our physical body or avoid the emotional pain or the psychological pain that we may be going through at that time, right? And we use these methods to kind of numb the pain or to push it aside, right? Whether it's overuse of alcohol or overuse of drugs or doom scrolling or whatever it is, oftentimes it's because we're finding ways to fill up our time, right? Or to fill up our time with something that makes us feel good in that moment. And I think that's a really good thing to do sometimes, right? Sometimes we do need a drink. Sometimes we do need to doom scroll for a little bit. It's never to put ourselves down for why we're doing the things we're doing, but it's to come into greater awareness of why we're doing them, to come into greater alignment with our inner self so that we can heal, so that we don't need to do those things or don't need to do those things as much. Because it feels to me, for you guys in group 3, you're being asked to find some relaxation. Again, with the camera burning out, literal burnout, so I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have been overworked or are in the midst of like final season or doing all this stuff, because again, this is a timeless reading, so you may be finding this at different points in your life. But again, it's this feeling of finding relaxation for yourself, finding a space where you can really decompress and truly ground, and that's different for everyone. So for example, sometimes it's really just necessary to drink a glass of water, right? Because that glass of water, you may not know that you're dehydrated, and we are socialized to not be aware of our bodies. We're socialized to live mostly in the mind, and your body is constantly sending you signals, constantly sending you information, and it's time to tap into that. So sometimes it is just drinking water. It is just going outside for a brief walk to really rid yourself of the office energy, right? Or of the classroom, or of whatever it is that you're going through, right? A different space does make a big difference. We also have here, turn over a new page. Let love lead the way for this change, right? And what I really like about that is that this entire reading has been about this shift in perspective that's leading you to take more risks and becoming more discerning and aware of the things that you need to get rid of in your life, the things you need to bring into your life, and the cords you may need to cut, right? So that you can bring more happiness, more relaxation, and allow this heart center to fully open up. I feel like a lot of you may have like shoulder pain or like back pain, right? And it feels like you keep carrying the weight of the world. It's time to let that weight go. It's time to relax and to open yourself up to the path that you want to take in this life. So I hope that resonated with you guys. I hope that really like feels good for you, because I do feel like you guys, as all the other groups, are very much deserving of all the happiness in the world. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Every like helps. I do want these messages to reach as many people as possible, and the algorithm kind of helps when, you know, there's more likes and things. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for spending the time with me, being here, and I'll see you guys here next time. All right? Bye everyone.